Okay, I'm not 100% sure.
It should be. Hi, we just want to check. Could somebody who's on the Zoom meeting for us let us know if you could see us or hear us? Do we usually put this on video?
Okay, there. Okay.
Yeah. Good. That's it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just lost it.
You'll hear it.
See you.
I just lost it.
Good evening, everyone who started as always with pledge of allegiance. Join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. I'm going to ask Maggie to go ahead and call our roll.
Suzanne Keeson,
Here.
Dave Schaefer,
Here.
Mike Sweeney,
Here.
Brent Moore,
Here.
Al Schmidt.
Why are we so big?
The approval of the minutes of May 2nd. I do have one correction. Mr. Busher's name is spelled correctly. New business, the first, yeah, sorry about that. The first use of this. Anybody else saw any other updates or corrections?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The entire conversation and objections I had towards the pre-application. And located under section 1222.01.
Are you looking at this version? This is the corrected.
Oh,
one
I'm
based on
sorry.
your-
So many.
This was the version I think that Nancy sent out. After
Oh,
your
okay.
email. There you go.
And I would just look for the sections. Okay, 1222.02, if I could just correct that to say 01 and 02D. I'm fine with that.
Thank you. No, no problem. Okay, so if I can ask for a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Then call the roll.
Suzanne Keeson,
Aye.
Dave Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Sweeney,
Aye.
Brent Moore, Al Schmidt.
Aye.
All right, just a point of procedure. We don't have any of the public hearing. We don't have any items for public hearing, so but we welcome you all here. We'll be working as a committee of the whole essentially tonight. So since everything that we have discussed would essentially be referred to, it's either a point of order or would be referred to council. It's actually at council. And with that, we move to close the public hearing. We'll go to the mayor's report. The mayor is out of town today.
Excuse me, how can you close something that wasn't open? You said you moved to close the public hearing. What happened with the public hearing?
Okay, I'm sorry, sir, I misspoke. There is no public hearing, as I mentioned.
Really?
Yes,
That's not what Jim Ryan said, the attorney, and for the record,
sir,
we want to know, the
There is
attorney
no
stated
public
there's a
hearing.
public hearing.
there is no
And we
public
have it
hearing.
on the record.
If you look at our stated agenda, there is no item of the public hearing.
When was that published?
2 weeks ago.
And where was it published?
It's published according to the city's
Where could we have found this?
ordinances.
Is it in the
You
newspaper?
certainly can find it, yes.
It is.
Is it on the website?
Is it posted to the website?
The agenda.
Madam Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
I think you're also referring to the section that's open to the public to speak, not just public hearings. Is there a portion in there in your agenda?
No, there is not.
There isn't.
Should be.
There should be.
There's one on my agenda,
Where would you see that?
right below approval of minutes, it says open to the public.
There is no agenda item to be addressed.
It says open to the public. Is that a mistake?
There is no agenda item to be addressed. We have an agenda though. We would like to discuss it. But the ask would have been to call the secretary and put it onto the agenda. We don't know this procedure.
We can ask what they want to.
Okay, moving on to the mayor's report. As he is out of town for
Oh,
planning and zoning on June 6th, here's my report for you to read.
Can we go over all the procedures before you keep going?
Yes, please.
We'd like to hear every single one. We have all, please. What?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
There isn't a reason for that.
When can we speak again?
When it's referred to the council,
So there's a council of the whole meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Are we allowed to speak?
I don't know what the council.
Oh, come on.
So,
Come on, you know
just
what the
to
council
clarify, you said
No,
we
sir, I
should have,
don't.
we should have called and asked for something to be added to the agenda?
Yes.
That is the first time I'm hearing it.
This is the first time ever.
Why is that information not published on the city's website then? So that everybody can be able to know that as public information.
It was never published that we would have to do that, no.
It's part of the procedures of,
But how would we know that?
the ordinances are all online.
Online, where?
We're online. If you go to the city, it'll take you to the.
I go to the city and I look at the meetings. And I get the
You'll
time.
go to the codified ordinance.
And where would, is this particular to planning and zoning meetings
I
or
don't
all
know.
meetings? Okay, so
Yes,
you know.
we spoke about every planning and zoning. For some reason, we're being shut out intentionally.
But it seems like
The city of
It's a white
Meadow
boy.
has no say in our city. That's really sad. This is your city. This is all your people. And you basically want to rule on your own.
No, sir, my role here is to represent.
Well, you don't represent anybody out here.
We're here, represent us.
You don't represent anybody in the audience here, obviously.
Raise your hands who she represents here. Nobody.
Not me.
I didn't elect you.
I'm not elected.
I know you're not.
That's too bad.
That's what I said. I didn't elect you. So how do you represent us if you whitewash the whole thing?
So
There are some of us that do not know how to use a computer.
we are not.
I'm
we are
one
not
of them.
whitewashed.
So how would I
We're
know
following
those
the
things?
Procedures that have been at least for the 15 years. that I've
One
been
guy
here.
on some people.
As a point of order, your objections have been noted, so fair enough. For the record, and what I'm hearing is that any comments should be taken up directly to council. Correct. I think for the record, now, as much as that might not satisfy everybody,
Do you have a printed copy of your current agenda for today?
we can, yes, everything's right up here. If you would permit us to go through our meeting, it doesn't appear as though a public comment is available.
As wonderful people that are presenting this, after your meeting, would you be willing to hear from all of us
Yes,
about what we would like to happen?
I
That would be greatly appreciated.
So in order, in order to
Okay, so I
move
think
things
that, so
along,
that we can keep moving through and
Madam
see where we're
Chair,
at.
just one other point that related to Mr. Busher's comments. This morning, in a conversation with Holly, I asked her specifically, will there be a single copy that's identical that all of you will be reading from? That's one concern I had. A second concern, that there would be enough copies that if 25 or so people arrive at the meeting tonight, we would have a copy that you are reading. We
So there's
consider that to
copies up
be,
here,
okay, we consider that
and
to
we
be
can, sir, there are
reasonable
copies right
transparency.
here. There are copies right here, they've been here for about 20 minutes. If we need to get more, then we'll go get more.
We even know they.
Moving forward. The mayor's report reads as follows. The cost of the revetment project for Lake Overlook Beach Park is estimated to be 1.2 million. This estimate came from CT Consultants. Council has approved a motion to allow us to enter a petition to apply for the Special Improvement District SID program. This is a county-wide program which would allow us to finance the revetment project over 15 years. Holly Bartone has also sent a request to our state representative, Dan Troy, to see if grant funds for infrastructure projects could be available to cover some of the 1.2 million. The second item is that the Summers Group, looking to develop the property at the corner of Andrews and Lakeshore, has decided to make the townhouses proposed in the project available for sale rather than renting them. Along with the change from rental to ownership, they propose switching the site plan to have the driveways of the townhouses inside the development rather than the driveways leading out to Andrews Road and Lakeshore Boulevard. Clarify with the mayor and ask when the Summers Group to come back before this group, it's that as soon as their project development plan is redone. They'll come back for that. No, that's not it. Could you go make some copies of agendas and probably,
Are you saying that's already been approved? It's been approved?
I'm sorry, ma'am, it has not been approved. It has not been approved. They will come back for their next review as soon as they have put together. The Summers Group. Council representatives, report. Mr. Shubu, do you have a?
The council is revisiting the CRA. We're working on the moratorium and the PUD. We send it down here because we would like some input of this committee, because it'll affect you the most.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Shubu?
yes, Mr. Shubu. Relative to the PUD inspections review there. That, so changes are per the zoning committee?
And it's so, that's both.
What is the zoning committee?
No, the changes were for the ordinance committee.
Ordinance,
No,
no, zoning, in council, we worked on it at committee as a whole.
So therefore, it should be referred back to us from the committee of the whole council. to
Correct.
Take a look at those.
What we added and what you did get your input. Absolutely.
Well, I would just point out that under Article 7, that council is forbidden to create any board or committee that takes on this board. This board is that's under section 701.
That's why it's been referred back to us.
Exactly, that's exactly it.
So it's up to us.
But when the language comes back, we were unanimous in examining our version. And so when another committee second guesses that, it would appear as though we're kind of or the
But they
zoning
have
committee.
has the committee of the whole accepted this?
All we did is work on it and add it, and send it
And
back to
refer
you.
it back because there were significant changes. Okay.
We just wanted more discussion.
And we will do that
We
later.
are not trying to
Right now, it's
supersede.
the next agenda.
Oh,
We're not trying to supersede.
well, that's intent. I'm just.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shaboo. We'll move to the next item, which is the PUD, discuss and review the recommendations from council. Don't have a marked up version, so what we're going to do instead is just start from the beginning, go back through. I did note that there were a few changes that I saw. My earlier notes, but and I will call them after I see them, if anybody has any comments or conversation, please feel free to bring them up. So let's go ahead and start with this. Purpose is to create the overlay district, associated regulations to provide higher quality, just clarification. I have not seen every word. I will try to get to this with it. Otherwise permitted consideration of multiple uses, densities, and dwelling types, as well as the design and placement of buildings in order to achieve the following objectives. Creative approaches to uses of land, physical facilities, to foster better variety of housing types and styles of housing, greater efficiency in the use of land and reduce infrastructure through unified development, to respect the character of surrounding development by providing appropriate buffers as a transition to areas of different land uses application in order to provide and protect the public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the community. Dwellings within a community shall be erected, owned, or maintained or used, and the land surrounding such a PUD shall be used only in accordance with this chapter and other applicable codes. Here. That section to see if there are any questions.
Yes, I have recommended for this one. On April 9th, my email to the committee relative to the purpose. I understand about that, whatever, but in there, I had language indicating the diversity of design. What I don't like about this is unified development.
Sorry.
On what's being proposed here, number
Okay.
3. Yeah, unified greater efficiency in use of land and reduced infrastructure costs. We're really not into the costs. We're getting into matters of economics.
So what would your proposal be?
Well, I would say a variety of design. This purpose really goes to monotony of design. Let's see. I would just refer this committee. At the first zoning committee. Documents. One of which rests the purpose. Changes to the purpose. Not a big deal. Purpose is really
We do
not.
not have it here, though.
Okay, well, I emailed it to everybody earlier. We're getting a lot of. I guess to sum everything up, I will retract that because I don't think the purpose statement is that applicable or detail. I would just suggest that item 3, 1255.013, instead of accentuating or concentrating on unity, reducing infrastructure costs, I would rather have it say, or get into the detail of architecture. Consistent with.
Keep going, just keep talking.
Uh, Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Actually, it was April 20th, 2022. Purpose of the Lakefront Plan Unit Development Overlay District. It incorporates for the higher quality development of a site that would otherwise be permitted. Nope.
This first paragraph.
Yeah, it's really, I get more into mixed housing, mixed use and diversity. Diverse community focused architecture and balanced densities to private, public, open spaces. There's really very, well, there is no language in the current identifying open spaces, which I think is benefiting the community. Desire for that.
Okay, that'll come into it.
Okay,
I thought that.
and I don't want to dwell on
Well,
this.
but if we want to talk about, instead of 2, which is fostering a variety of housing types and housing styles, right? We want to talk instead about.
I think this has got one of our, so, yeah, because we're trying to make it consistent with the other.
To foster a
That's already-
variety of housing styles, but I guess my concern is if we're gonna. do something on these. So,
The big one, the big takeaway here, not that anyone would notice, but under my proposal, 455.01. Anyone, well, yeah,
A1.
B1. Okay. B, I say in each case, the applicant for a PUD shall have the burden of proof to justify the grant of his application.
So that's, I would say that's beyond this space. And I think we should put it in one development plan.
Yeah.
Because I would.
Again, I don't want to dwell on this.
No, I know, but I want to get.
I've just seen no record that I provided with your.
Oh, you did.
Well, I did, but there's no record of it.
It's not incorporated.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We're gonna need to do it.
But you said we got a lot of people.
But that's why we're doing our thing. Okay, any other questions on the purpose statement?
Read section.
I don't think cost is appropriate as a purpose.
Did you want to propose reducing or striking and reducing infrastructure costs?
Yeah.
Development.
The economics, that all works out, or else you don't get it developed. So it's really, it means nothing.
So do you want to keep
Are
any
you
part of
proposing it, Mr. Butcher, or?
Proposing to strike it.
right? Exactly the whole thing.
And some kind of architectural diversity for.
Isn't that done in 2?
Okay, if it's done, it's done.
Housing and
I'll
housing
take that.
types?
Mixed use? Yes. A variety, yes, there you go.
It's already done in 2, but you're saying striking 3 altogether.
No, we're gonna strike after and reduce infrastructure costs.
Got it.
I don't want to see the plus of the interest rate as justification.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Any other comments on the purpose? Not, let's move to designation of the overlay district. 1255.02. A. PUD overlay district definition, the planned unit development overlay district is a map zone that establishes a development option with a set of development requirements that are in addition to those of the base or conventional zoning district. So that any parcel of lands lying in a PUD overlay district shall also lie in one or more base districts. The overlay district with property owners the ability of developing according to the PUD regulations, while also retaining the base zoning district designation. Any comment on A? Right. B, zoning map amendment required. The application of the planned unit development overlay district to a specific site shall be achieved through the zoning amendment process and the simultaneous approval of a PUD general development plan that controls the intended development of the site. The application for a zoning amendment to rezone the subject site to the PUD district. Review of the PUD preliminary development plan shall be considered concurrently by the Planning and Zoning Commission and referred to City Council for final approval in compliance with section 1242.06. 3, the PUD zoning can be applied to properties zoned as business 1 and 2 for ordinance 1252.
You understand the importance that we only wanted to apply to business one and two.
Yes,
You understand that? You agree with that?
yes, I do. Okay. Anybody else? C, ownership. An application for the approval of a PUD overlay may be submitted by one or more of the property owners of the, one or more owners of the property or properties, or an authorized representative to be included in the PUD. If there's one or more owner, the parcel shall be contiguous. The application shall indicate that the project area is under unified control to the use of enforceable covenants or similar commitments. D. D1, effective rezoning. Once a PUD overlay district rezoning and preliminary development plan are approved, the use and dimensional specifications of the base zoning district are herein replaced by a review process in which an approved preliminary development plan becomes the basis for continuing land use control. The base zoning district shall remain undisturbed and regulate the future use of the land, except as provided in the PUD agreement. This provision shall not preclude a change in the base zoning district in conjunction with the approval of a PUD overlay or future change in the base zoning district by council. I did have a question here. I thought that we had discussed that if the purpose, if the purpose for the PUD is no longer in effect, or the development, that the PUD essentially expires and it reverts back to the underlying zoning. I don't know if that's here somewhere though, or it's just, I guess for me, I'd like to make it explicit. As opposed to implicit. I think it's for, yeah.
It's like a zoning issue for one party then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't see that it's. That it then it can expire.
But I think that's.
Then I'd like to make it explicit. So I would. I would suggest the addition of a number 3 under this section, which states that the PUD reverts to underlying, I'm sorry, I think we use the language of reverts to the base zoning if and when the purpose for which the PUD was granted
If and when. Granted.
is no longer viable.
That, you feel that belongs there. Reverts to the base zoning if and when granted is no longer viable. Like that word.
All right. Any other comments, questions? 125503, development area. A, minimum area, the minimum development site for a PUD is 2 acres, except as otherwise permitted in 125503 and below.
Yes, I would like to introduce what I proposed to the zoning committee. April 18th email, where I propose identifying what we are going to typically see throughout the city. That is sites under 2 acres, sites between 2 to 5 acres, and sites over 5 acres. Each of which have their own use, open space, and density requirements. A 2 acre site is a different animal than a 10 acre site. So my point is that I think it's a real failure in planning and in not addressing different size sites. So I can refer to my email where I just call it, let's see, item number 4 in my email. It is entitled
So
section.
that's the density section, correct?
Well, that's the old 125505C density regulations table
Right.
and 125506A maximum coverage ratio.
Okay, can I ask you to hold that till we get to that on the next page?
Yeah, what I've done is essentially just combined everything. Instead of having separate tables, combine that with the different sites.
In a single table.
In a single table.
Let's get to the density.
Okay.
But we are looking at a minimum of 2 acres, so there would be an under 2 acre application.
Not for A, but there is an exception.
There is an exception.
Yes.
Okay, let's get to it.
Yeah.
That was okay, yeah. When the proposed PUD is located adjacent to an existing non-residential area, the planning commission may approve a development on less than 2 acres when the planning commission determines that land ownership cannot be readily consolidated to reach the minimum development area. project will be connected to and integrated with an adjoining district or development. So as not to result in isolated development. And the project will not have unreasonable or adverse impacts on adjacent areas. That's the other two. C is ownership. Application for the approval of a PUD overlay may be submitted by one or more owners of the property, properties, or an authorized representative to be included in this PUD. There's more than one owner or parcel for the project. The parcel should be contiguous, and the application shall indicate that the project is under unified control through the use of enforceable covenants or other similar plans. The site development plans. Preliminary site development plans shall cover the entire PUD overlay district, indicating the usage, densities, buildings, parking, landscaping, and open space in accordance with section 125507 development standards. Preliminary site development plans shall be submitted and accepted by the owner or owners. It just- I
No,
don't like
they
that.
would not be.
Let me
submitted.
finish the
Yeah.
sentence, and that will correct me if I'm wrong. Of all the land within the proposed PUD, the preliminary site development plan shall be binding on the owner, owners, their heirs, executors, successors, unless otherwise amended. Okay, so the first piece is, let's correct the 1, 2, 3, in D, 1, 2, 3, fourth line down. The plan shall be submitted, strike and accepted, shall be submitted by the
Submitted to
owner.
and accepted by.
Well, yeah, let's do it as two sentences, so it's clear though. Preliminary site development plan shall be submitted by the owner or owners within the proposed PUD to the planning for review. Planning and zoning. for
By the
review,
owners.
Comment, and they are not accepted by the owners, they're submitted by the owners and accepted by the planning commission.
Accepted by the plan.
Right, so it has to be submitted by the owners to the planning and zoning commission. Then it goes for review and acceptance. For review, comment, or acceptance.
Now, 125507. That refers to this. 1255, development standards, but see, that's not part of. Okay, we could have it, we can mention the 125507, the development standards, but 1222. identifying the preliminary application process should also be on there.
Okay,
Section
so
1222.
thank you for that. To the planning and zoning 1222, what was it?
It's 1222.
As prescribed by section 1222.
Now, there's a pre-application.
Yeah, so
And there's-
before that. Or maybe we just say 1222. 1222 is the whole.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The piece to me that I want to take a look at, I think it comes later, that I'd like to propose along with this is, I don't think our existing development plan requirements are rigorous enough. I would like to request, we can look at this after, it's sent around today, so we would have the language. But so that the final development plan is a little more rigorous and also therefore incorporates environmental assessment statement, which we also don't. So go ahead and look through those. But now I want to look 7 is the development standard. So I do think that what we want to put here, though, what I would propose, and I would definitely hold on that, just so it's here, site development plans. Cover the in accordance with 125507 and
Where are you
Well-
putting this?
42, sorry, I'll read it again.
Oh,
1240. Okay,
oh,
so if you go to D, preliminary site development plan shall cover the entire PUD overlay district indicating uses, densities, buildings, parking, landscaping, and open space in accordance with 125507 and 1242.025. So it,
Page 3.
page 3, 125503D.
Okay.
So the current ordinances require a specific 1242.025 is currently what should be in a development plan. That's the current number for it. So that shouldn't change at all, and I continue to refer to that. So as a developer, I have to come in and make sure whatever I put forward for preliminary site, say the council may need to see if it's, these are setbacks. These are development standards, are 1255.07 and 1242.025 development plan requirements.
Not pre-app.
I'm gonna go through that one more time so that it's recorded. 1255.03D site development plans. Preliminary site development plans shall cover the entire PUD overlay district, indicating uses, densities, buildings, parking, landscaping, and open spaces in accordance with section 1255.07 development standards and 1242.025 development plan. Preliminary, and I'm going to go on to the next sentence. Preliminary site development plan shall be submitted, striped, and accepted by the owner and or owners of all the land within the proposed community. Oh, I see why. The preliminary, oh, wait. Sorry, I missed the words. Preliminary site development plan shall be submitted, strike accept and accepted by the owner and or owners of all the land within the proposed PUD and submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission per section 1222. The preliminary site development plan should be binding on the owner and or owners, their heirs, executors, successors, unless otherwise. All right. 1255.04 permitted buildings and uses. No building, no building or use other than those herein permitted shall be built or established in the PUD. A, permitted principal uses. The following types of residential dwellings are permitted in the PUD. One family detached dwellings, one family attached dwellings, two family dwelling, townhouses, and condominiums. I do see that we removed from the original version multifamily dwelling. Wow.
How do you feel about that?
I think it should-
Well, under the old 125504, point number 2 on my April 18th suggestion, email to the one of my objections was the coordination between property types proposed did not match up. Just assuming that's been worked out.
Yeah. But that's
I don't see garden segments. Wrong something. Could I ask anyone on the board if they know why one family should be a part of this? Well, again, now, you know what, that would only come into play on larger sites, right? Hence, it goes to my point on identifying small. medium, large. Then I introduce, again, point 4. In this, I introduce mixed use concept on smaller sites, because that's typically what you see. Business, first floor, apartment, second floor, closer to the street.
So there's already.
It's already-
thing in there, in the ordinance.
In the ordinance, in business is already.
Leaving business on your lot, binary use, business on the bottom.
Okay, then it's,
So I wouldn't
That's
need the
already-
PUD,
Not for that.
not for that. Okay, so we would
That's
have
already
to
in the
come
ordinance.
there.
It's already in the ordinance.
you're correct, you are correct. Yes. I'll just make note of the 25%. Late, we're coming.
Accessory buildings and uses, sorry. The following accessory buildings and uses are permitted in the PUD: private parking and garage facilities, accessory to dwelling in the PUD, landscaping, recreational areas, including structures, schools, fences, and walls. Density, now we're in density. 125505 density regulations. Maximum density by dwelling type. The gross density of a PUD shall not exceed the maximum number of dwelling units per acre set forth in 125505C, based on the type of dwelling. Total number of dwelling units permitted shall be calculated by multiplying the total land area exclusive of public right-of-ways existing at the time the development plan was submitted, by the number of dwelling units permitted per acre. In the event more than one dwelling type is proposed, the maximum density shall be determined for each area of the site devoted to a specific dwelling type.
Would that be mixed use then?
I think it would be mixed residential,
Mixed
but
residential.
not,
Okay.
not business. The maximum number of units per structure. Okay. Do we get to your table?
Well, these are just, this is a visual example. Not that there's much thought, some thought was done to this, but insofar as densities.
I do see the densities. Let's go ahead and go into the table. One family detached originally,
We
we
changed
had
that to
8.
6. It was
Originally,
8.
we had 8.
Yeah. We went to 6.
And they went further.
And they went further to 5.
So that's
Fine with
5
that?
units
Good.
per acre.
Good.
Maximum number of units per structure, again, for one family detached, you can have one. One family attached, maximum units per acre, 8. Number of units per structure, 4. Two family dwellings, maximum units per acre, 12. Maximum number of units per structure, 2. Townhouse condominium, maximum units per acre, 14. We had 20 originally. It was 20. I will tell you, Willoughby's is 16, so we are lower than that.
Willoughby's is 16.
Willoughby's is 16. Maximum number of units per structure, 8. So that was much.
These numbers are approved.
They
Well,
are
they're-
less steps.
Less than, which is good.
But even, even for, it's difficult to achieve even 14. Single use.
But it says maximum. Here. That would be up to you, this group, to determine
Within the development plan.
within the development plan what is appropriate.
Well, this is what happened. The developer points to the legislation that this board approved.
But it is maximum. It's up
And
to,
Willoughby's at 16.
Yeah,
We originally approved 20.
But is it any coincidence? Well, Willoughby is 16.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's 14 is, here's a good example of 14. I'm not saying it's a coincidence, I'm just saying it's a good example. Summers' second proposal, 37 townhomes, is 14. That's a tough.
35. They're down to 35.
Okay, let's not talk about there.
Well, I'm just saying.
We need to make it so that, you know,
This is
years
y'all.
from now,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
that. It
But
makes sense.
visually, I think we've all seen that. I think it's pretty dense, personally.
What do you think that would make sense then? And so,
Monterey Day, 6.
Yeah. Yeah. I am not. I mean, I think that really needs to be explored, very comfortable. I mean, I know. Now, where are you? I don't want, where are you, Willoughby?
No, this was not.
Oh, okay. My guess would be,
Their development is pretty low, honestly, they're planning development.
and then we have an
Use
example.
8 mixed use, if it's residential, it's 1.
There you go.
What was that?
So none of the current requirements would be met. None of the current.
Do you understand that some of these numbers are consistent with what we already have in some of these? Just
That's
follow
helpful.
us.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's
So that's where it came from.
those, right, you follow what I'm saying? But if we're going to be consistent,
Well, the consideration is this, are we gonna be consistent with a 60-year-old zoning concept? Or are we going to be consistent with maybe an updated approach?
So I guess I'd like to.
Well, I would propose densities be considered right along with open space requirements. That's really.
Okay. Again, do you have a,
Well, I would, you know what, I'd say 2-family dwellings. I am a bit taken back because I didn't bring this up on the first go around. Okay.
that's why we're doing this other forward. I mean,
Well, if you're
one
asking me,
family detached, right? I mean, because here's the other consideration, even one family detached, if we move, if we're thinking about today's sensibilities.
Yeah.
Look at current design, they're looking at tiny homes.
real time. And
But
actually,
no, but that's, I mean, that's the design trend. So the question is, which design trend?
well, it's basically, if you go to 4 on the detached, that's a 1/4 acre. So, you know, that is hard to achieve. You know, a 1/3 acre, well, it's doable. It just depends. So I would say we could go 5 on detached. It's not likely to occur in the city. If it does, it's going to be a much larger site. Would you give me that?
You have to think about, this is only for the business 1, business 2, so we're.
Oh, well,
All up and down.
Yeah,
There
that's it. So you're not talking residential. Really, for somebody to come in and put 5 houses with a detached garage on Indian Road. It's not gonna happen. Do it. There are no lots right now available. Doing detached, there's no lots. Unless Giant Eagle sells.
that's why I said we
Yeah.
just strike it. I mean, who wants to be a single family detached up acres?
Right. Right.
Well, let's go back to the more dense of the two, right? Which is where we were. The 2-family dwelling of 12 and the condo of 14.
Townhouses. Do have townhouses that they build with.
I would, if it were me, I'm thinking of a 2-family dwelling, much like a duplex, right?
So there'd be 6 buildings. Right. Right, I mean.
Right, I would say,
So to me, it makes sense to take that to 10, which better aligns it with
10 and 12,
1.
10 and 12.
And
Now, is two families smaller than a one family detached?
Can't be.
I mean, you can't hardly cram five one family detached into an acre. How are you gonna cram in
Well,
10 duplexes? That's nuts. I'm speaking as a builder myself.
What we're saying is, of course, this is the maximum, and it would be
The
up to the
builder's gonna go
architect.
for the maximum you allow.
Okay. then
So
there you
what
go.
you're doing is catering to a builder that wants high density. And the fact is, this is ridiculous, because a duplex is rarely in general smaller than a single family. If you're limiting single families to 5, but you're gonna allow 10 if 2 families live in it. What? Come on, let's get a little common sense here.
Well, a unit. Yeah,
It's
it
a
would be
building.
5 buildings.
It's a
It would
duplex.
be 5 buildings.
you know what?
It would
Okay,
be 5 buildings. Okay, let's do
You're
that,
asking-
because I don't want to get into public comment too. So
yeah.
10 and 12. Is that our recommendation to move forward with?
6, 8, 10. Strike.
6, 8, 10?
One family attached. No?
6, 8, 10.
Well, I'm suggesting, let's
Yeah,
just
Okay, so we're
strike one
suggesting
family,
strike one family.
and we can go, yeah, 6, 8, 10 on the one family attached, which can be smaller than a 2-family duplex.
Well, and we're making it. The other thing I do think we need to, that's next. Which does have the remaining. So you're also taking.
We could go 8. They're like all the different multi-family designations we have. They're dated.
So 8, 8, 10.
8,
Okay,
yes.
Brent, did I-
One family.
Mr. Or did I hear you say?
yes, it's 12.
6, 8, 12, or 8, 8.
Think about an apartment, it's basically, put 4 units in.
So you can have an up and down.
But apartments aren't covered.
No, it is
No, I'm
not.
just saying, I'm
but
just
you-
using that building.
But it doesn't have to be a townhouse style. It can be upper and lower.
So what did you?
Because
decide?
some of the actual density on the property itself is to a large degree dictated by the next, which is the development side, right?
I am saying, I don't see, well, 6, 8, 10.
6, 8, 10 makes a whole more sense than what's there now.
Whoa,
You can almost do 6, 8, 10.
Okay, thank you, sir.
that's what I'm saying.
So you are,
I still. We can vote on this. I'm just. We were
Yeah,
down from 20 to 14.
Is this the final zoning meeting for this area to determine for this?
we don't know.
We don't know.
There's a 3rd reading.
Okay.
No, sorry. It'll go from us back to the. Back to the
Oh, back to
council will start again.
I
So
apologize.
council's coming in, I'm sorry to interrupt, I just want to make sure that we don't keep interrupting you to get this, but there's gonna be another council meeting, correct?
This will be
Yes.
referred to council.
Okay, and the council meeting is,
I don't know.
The second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
okay, And then we can appeal now to talk at the council meeting.
There's a open to the public.
There is open to
There's
the
two
public.
open to the public at each council.
Okay, and then we can talk to them, and then that would go back to you guys. And then
If they send it back.
If they so desire to
if
send
they
it back.
send it back to you guys, then it would go back to you guys, and then we can appeal to talk to you guys, correct?
On the agenda.
On the agenda,
You can
put
ask
in the
the
agenda that they would like to be heard.
And for any of you that are lost, what we're doing is trying to maintain control by this body of a proposed development. We really haven't been proposed, am I correct? We have preliminarily, but there's been no final development plan proposed.
Yeah, we don't want to just keep interrupting, we just want to
No,
know
I know.
what's going on.
So that's
We
what
want to understand how we can put our input in. We heard,
So
so
appreciate
we'll
it.
let
So
you
you're
keep
going
going,
6,
and
8,
then
10,
afterwards,
12.
we'd like some more education on how to help.
I'm going 6, 8, 10. Does the board have any other consideration? Brent has said 6, 8, 12.
Well, getting up there, that's for sure. High density.
All right, I think we're at 6, 8,
But
12.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that was just stupid.
All right, let me go back to what we have by agreement. um, Mr. Moore, Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Sherwood, and myself is 6, 8, 12. Lower the densities from the proposed 8, 12, 14. Let's now also look at maximum coverage, because that's going to really dictate which goes to your open space requirement. So maximum coverage of the development site, including all areas covered by buildings, particularly garage and parking areas, shall not exceed the percentage of the total area of the development project set forth. By the way, we struck one.
Yeah, we struck.
attached, so we would also strike A1. Yes. I can restate it.
Now, we had
We
lowered.
had,
I'm sorry.
yeah, we had one family, let me just read it. One family attached 55, two family dwelling 55, townhome condominium 65. The remaining area is permanent public or open landscape. Covered. Yeah. Open space. Okay, sorry.
No, I recall us lowering 65 to 70.
Yeah, we did. I'd actually like to see it lowered to 60.
Let me ask a question though, because of this density, that will, attorney in the property will determine the number. of
Correct.
units.
That, it'll
I mean,
also. open up-
Combined.
Combined.
Yes, so, yes. So you may not be able to
So you,
achieve the
we may have
density
put
of.
12, but if it doesn't fit. then-
Correct, then they would have to go under.
Right.
Because what would dominate is the maximum coverage. Okay, so
You want to
my
work with the
proposal was,
maximum number. of
I'm sorry, sir.
Is the density, we're just trying to understand what you're saying. Is the density part so many per acre based on the total
Based
acreage
on what's
times
left.
the percentage?
Based on what's left,
It's only based on the coverage.
if you can fit it in based on what's left.
Okay, so 3 acres is 60% becomes roughly 2 acres, then your density is based on the 2 acres.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
So we're back to, my proposal was that we reduce in A4 the 65 to 60%.
3.
I don't understand what a townhouse condominiums are, because there's no definitions on any of this. So
That it's in the
is it
city
whatever
ordinance.
the developer wants it to be?
No, sir, it's in.
So
city
what is it?
ordinance.
Under what definition? Do we have one?
Yes, again, this is a time for public input and requests. You make a note, we'll talk about it later, but it is. Development standards. 125507. Regulations regarding lot dimensions, building setbacks, building heights, and unit sizes shall be established as part of the development plan approval by the planning commission and guided as follows. A, lot requirements. Lot sizes and lot widths may be varied to allow for variety of structural designs and mix of dwelling types. The minimum setback from street right of way, building structures or parking areas shall be set back a minimum of 35 feet from an existing street right of way. Okay, let me finish the paragraph. Where 20% or more of the aggregate street frontage of the abutting property between two successive intersection streets is occupied by buildings, and the average of the setbacks of the existing buildings within 100 feet on either side of the lot will determine the setback line for that lot.
So. Aside from the right. The last sentence, that means, so like, this measure is made, so Mario's bar and those are only 8 feet.
Right.
So they could come to BZA and ask for variance,
Well, the language that was added,
or
Yes.
could they come here? Or would they have to?
well,
So I know at houses we used to.
well, no, this is, I'm assuming this, well, no, it's in the business as well, but this is from the residential. 20% or more built up streets, that
Yeah.
ordinance, right? And the justification is, well, if, in between two intersecting streets, why wouldn't you have the same? Be consistent, right? Back to the consistency.
I'd like to see the line, but I don't want to see like we have now, you have a line of buildings, and then you have one set way back.
Well, and I did look briefly into this, consistency. Now, I had made mention of in the zoning meeting too, Mayor, that in the case of Andrews, if you go from Big East north, all those buildings are 60 years old.
What's the life?
Yeah.
It's over,
Now,
it's about 30.
yeah, but here's the other thing. Those type, when, I'm not opposed to a 25% setback. Under these use. Again, you get to Willoughby and you've got storefronts, cafe, whatever, and you've got the apartments above. The parking is to the rear. That's not, I won't get into it. Right, look at, but so, but what we're kind of addressing here is single use. And if it's all residential, why wouldn't you go back to, well, but it's a PUD, and we're talking about Andrews. So I think that's why this board came up with 35 from 25. No, it was 25, and I can't. Yeah, we were like, wow, 25.
It does. So it's not, that's 18, 19 feet.
So we could keep this language in the average setbacks and say in no event, however, and then establish a minimum. I kind of have to take issue with that, only there's two things here. I would like on 125507B, when it says buildings, comma, structures and parking areas, I would like to just put building fronts, comma, structures and parking areas. Because I'm not sure if what I've seen would indicate that we would be looking at the rear of the town hall sign. So I'm not sure which. Well, so building fronts would be one recommendation, just to say. And then,
But this gives you, the extra wording gives you planning and zoning commission clarity or room for work.
Gives the developer more room.
I think 35 is pretty clear. I think that.
Okay, the building front is greater clarity, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that I think is the question. Okay, building front, what else? Do you have any-
Well, the added language, already those old buildings gonna get torn down.
And they're gonna be there forever.
Maybe.
Broadway, why would you
Again,
match up
sir.
with something that's on it?
So do we keep the 35 that we all agreed to earlier?
Or do you have a,
Individual places. It's not like it's the whole area. But we're not gonna take the part. Big. Let's don't do that.
Well,
I'm saying that you could. But right now, are we gonna do it? What would you want?
but all of your close setbacks. It's
Right.
different with red.
okay, so what do you?
Single use residential,
Right,
to include any one of these,
Right.
is 35.
okay, then I don't.
Mixed use, we can go back to the average.
And mixed use, business residential is governed by business function.
Oh, well, and it's already allowed.
Yes.
It's already allowed.
Yeah.
So.
So we're good.
So
But
single
we
use
do have a
residential.
change here, which is to be minimum setbacks. Instead of buildings, it's building fronts.
Building fronts, right?
Other than that, I think. Maximum height,
Single use. You have to have that. Oh.
Are you striking that sentence then?
no,
Single use would be 35 feet. Mixed use, well, no, that's under
mixed use
there.
is under.
So we're striking the average.
Right. Because there's only.
We're striking the language that was added. Because
No.
You talking about the location?
Yeah.
The only reason you need 25 is if it's business.
The average of the setbacks of the existing buildings within 100 feet on either side shall determine. So what we do with that last phrase,
for mixed
that's
use.
the, no, it isn't, but that isn't it. What it's saying is if there are buildings next to it that already, next to the community that already exists, then they would determine essentially that overwrites what we just read.
Of the same type.
So, yeah, the roller shading would
Well, what we're saying
set a
is,
standard,
what we're saying
and I don't
is,
think that's what we want.
if we keep that in, what we're saying is, it's 35 feet. But for the corner down here, it's the average, which is gonna be between 18 to 25. That's what we're saying.
Well, when
Well,
we
but-
strike,
Yeah, I know.
we're
I
$20
read it,
or more. It's successful design by the building. The average of the setbacks of the existing building with 100 feet on either side. So, yeah, so it's that, and then it's the garden apartments. that are on the other.
Buy a house right up.
So. Because that's the other side. The average of the setbacks of the existing buildings is not 100 feet on either side. So you have to go, the apartments are 30. and it's 18, the average comes down. Now, I would say if we think it should be a minimum of 35, then we just strike.
Strike the added language.
Okay, so let me restate.
Because we're talking about residential.
125507B, minimum setbacks from street right of way, building fronts. Change to strike buildings. Comma, structures and parking areas shall be set back a minimum of 35 feet from an existing street right of way, period. Strike the second sentence. X. Maximum height. C, buildings shall not exceed the height specified below based on the dwelling type, strike one. One family attached. One family attached 35 feet, two family dwelling 35 feet, townhouse condominium 35 feet. Okay. D, dwelling unit area requirements, regardless of dwelling type, the size of the dwelling unit should comply with the minimum dwelling set for 125407B based on the number of members in each unit. That's just a reference back. Current ordinances E, the number of off-street parking spaces shall comply with 1280.03. No parking spaces shall be less than 180 square feet in area, drives, curbs, and turning spaces excluded. The minimum width shall be 9 feet. 3, traffic moving areas between parallel parking spaces shall not be less than 18 feet. 4, additional regulations outlined in 16.4.
Isn't 16 can be the fire? Safety. Yeah, that's got it.
Add the word section in
Section.
section. Up 16.10.04, utilities. All means of transmitting or carrying utilities, including streetlights, within the PUD shall be located underground. Refuse bins shall be shielded from view and kept in sanitary conditions. Anything else on that section? Approval of development plans and development agreement. A, development plans. And this is where I'd like to talk about the piece that I wanted to add, compliance with section 1242.025. Drawn to a reasonable scale depicting the location of main buildings and all accessory uses shall be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval and or modification as related to the promotion of public safety and maintenance, general welfare. Development plan shall be submitted in compliance with section 1222. Procedural. The plan shall show the relationship with the proposed buildings, of the proposed development to surrounding streets and continuous properties and structures. I'd now like to go to the piece, and we do have extra copies up here, if anyone wants to see it. I would like to propose, actually several pages of this, I'm happy to walk through it. Additional requirements for development plans. My sense is our development plans are not specific enough. So I would propose 1242.025C2. A proposed development plan includes 1, use location. I can send you this in my reception. Use location and height of existing and proposed buildings and structures, including accessory buildings, along with the notation of development standards for building space and setbacks and maximum building heights. 2, location and configuration of off-street parking and loading areas, arrangement of internal and in-out traffic movement, including access roads, drives, lanes, and other pavement markings to direct and control parking and circulation. Location of signs related to parking and traffic control. 3, adjacent streets and property including lot lines, buildings, parking, drives, and sidewalks within 200 feet of the site. 4, proposed and existing walls, fences, walls, and lighting. 5, location and layout of all outdoor storage areas, including storage of waste materials and location of trash receptacles. 6, sanitary sewers, water, and other utilities, including fire hydrants, that require proposed drainage and storm water management. 7, dimensions of all building setbacks, parking lots, drives, sidewalks. D, we include topographic maps showing existing grading contours, major vegetation features, including existing trees over 6 inches in diameter, wooded areas, wetlands, and other environmental features. E, landscaping plan, which includes proposed landscaping and screening, indicating the preliminary description and location and nature of existing and proposed vegetation. Identification of vegetation and trees to be removed. 3, locations of all proposed landscape elements with key schedule of all landscaping. 4, the planning commission may request as part of its landscaping plan review, additional landscaping related details to, but not limited to, permeable pavers, fire retention areas, vegetated swales, sand organic, elimination of curb gutters, repairing buffers, and other sustainable site design practices. 5, use of indigenous landscaping is encouraged. Emphasis on native species, planning commission shall review use of more further. On to say preliminary architectural sketches completed in color and preferred three-dimensional renderings. Buildings and other structures, floor plan, sites, construction materials. Sorry. Summary table.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's right. G, a summary table showing the total acres, number of acres devoted to each type of residential.
Spreadsheet.
H, environmental assessment statement is set forth in section 1242C3. I, other features necessary for the evaluation is deemed necessary by the service director. I will tell you this was an evaluation of metro on this lake. Yeah, you can double my. All right, environmental assessment statements. This is something that I'd like to suggest that the council consider adding. It is something we have talked about, but we have not had a way to request this of developers. So this would be great. 1242C3 environmental assessment statements. So there would be established an environmental assessment procedure to enable the planning commission and city council to assess the environmental effect of any proposed project that has the potential, because of its character, magnitude, or location, to affect health, safety, and welfare. All environmental assessments shall be submitted in the following procedure. An environmental assessment shall be required to set forth below. No zoning permit, certificate, or building permit shall be issued prior to planning commission and council approval. The time of application for approval, preliminary plat is submitted at the time of the so when you have a plat or development plan. So what is included in the environmental assessment is as follows. A description of the location, scope, character of the subdivision, quantity and rate of stormwater runoff, the method to dispose of the runoff, potable and firefighting water demands, including peak hour requirements, amount of noise, water, air pollution, probable or predicted, timeline and proposed schedule of construction of any structures or improvements as set forth in section. Strike as set forth in section. Timeline and proposed schedule of construction or any structures or improvements. List of used or stored hazardous waste and materials when submitted in conjunction with an application for a zoning amendment. Present proposed classifications, trafficking paths, predicted demands on the school system. So I would say there would probably be either look at a filing fee or have it be as part of the other filing fees, but the other piece is the EAS, when it comes in, goes to the building department, but goes back to the council, the mayor, the service director, the law department, chiefs of police, fire, city engineer, and Lake County utilities, so they would have to validate that it's appropriate. Any comments that they have for agreement would then come back to the planning commission. With H, which I think it's in italics, but it's that there then is a council review, so the whole package would go to council along with the development plan, and then action by council within 30 days to accept or reject. But I very much agree that, I very much believe that we need to have better environmental impact than we have right now. Right now, we don't request that. My proposal would be a side, I guess, amendment, but I wanted to go through and read that since I do reference it here. Again, go back to the PUD, it's 125508A, development plan. I'd like to insert development plan in compliance with section 1242.25, drawn to a reasonable scale. If a developer, and again, this would apply to PUD or any other department. No, I mean, we have an impact on everything that is kind of health and wellness in schools, but it could also be impact on fire. So fire. But that would essentially what is this going to cost the city?
Are you referring to the ones that are that?
This would replace the current 1242.
Right, but you said economic impact. What about the impact of the land values around this?
Well, I don't think, yeah, that's really a guess. But I'm thinking of, 1.4 kids per unit. You know, the costs, whatnot, because then there's this, that ties into the CRA element.
But under 1242.025, it says the appropriate use and value of property within and adjacent to the area will be safeguarded.
And what is that 1242?
025.
And what, keep going, 12, is it A, B, C, D?
That's under.
Because my proposal is just to replace the current C, 2, and 3, it would leave the rest.
Well, I guess my question, should there be an economic?
Let's see.
Well, it's under 12. So here it is. Under the 2A.
Okay, so yeah, currently 1242.025A would not
Reviewing
be
the final-
touched by this, but it does in fact say,
Or B, so it starts with C?
it starts at C,
Yeah,
so that it
okay.
wouldn't touch the preliminary plan,
Right,
wouldn't touch the purpose,
right.
the preliminary plan.
No, but I was referring to his question.
Yeah, so that stays in, is it in there? Not,
The appropriate use and value of property within and adjacent to.
what,
the area.
I'm still trying to figure out what.
Under D, review
D.
procedures.
Okay, that would not be impacted, but yeah, there it is. This would be part of our job. This is the standard that planning and zoning would use. that the appropriate use and value adjacent to the area will be safeguarded.
It's not in this, but I was just,
Yes.
It's not specifically noting economic impact.
It doesn't ask for it as part of the development plan.
Right.
It's part of the determination of this. Because that's, yeah, then that would be managed.
okay. So that satisfies what you just said. Okay, perfect.
Lines of 12, yeah, and if we just add 1242.025. Entire chapter.
Very good, thank you.
Review required, so 1255.08B. No permit shall be issued, the erection or alteration of a building in the PUD unless there has first been filed preliminary and final development plans and other such data. I propose adding preliminary and final, preliminary and final development plans, environmental assessment statement, and other data. Such plans,
Well, another date is kind of open.
yeah, anything else we would ask
In
for.
accordance with what sections? 1242.
1242.025. Accordance with. So. 1255.08B, review required, no permit shall be issued for the erection or alteration of a building in the planned unit development overlay district unless there has first been filed with the commission preliminary and final development plans and other data in accordance with 1242.025, with section 1242.025. Such plans and data shall be approved by the commission if it finds such plans provide for integrated and harmonious design of buildings, appropriate entrances to suites, adequate and properly arranged facilities for internal traffic circulation, provision for primary access, landscaping, planting, public water, sewer, stormwater drainage, and other facilities as all may be necessary or appropriate to prevent dispersion of property development or use of other properties surrounding or in the vicinity of the planned unit overlay district, preserve and protect public health, safety. Going. C, approval of preliminary plans, when the commission has found that plans comply with the requirements of planning and zoning code, it shall make recommendations to city council for final confirmation of modifications of preliminary plans. The development agreement, all PUD plans shall be accompanied by a development agreement that specifies all conditions of approval, but not limited to: 1, maximum permitted density by dwelling unit type and for overall development. Applicable development setbacks specified development plans, buildings, minimum open spaces, acres for the approved development plan. 5, any other conditions set forth by the planning commission, city council.
Wouldn't that be?
That is, that's the definition for development.
Thank you.
E, execution of the development agreement. Development agreement shall be executed by the city and developer prior to final approvals and issuance of permits. Prior to commence construction, modifications to an approved preliminary development plan. Modifications to an approved preliminary plan that increase the residential density of development. Modify the location of proposed principal buildings or conflict with the conditions of the PUD overlay district or approved development agreement shall require approval by city council following the recommendation of the plan. So it has to come back to the planning commission, then modify the preliminary, and then go back to the city. G, approval of final development plans, final plan project shall be submitted to, approved by the commission before construction is started. If it finds that the plans meet the requirements of the zoning inspector shall issue the required zoning permit upon payment of the standard fees after the signature. Doesn't it have to go to the council? So is it after the final plans are approved by the council? Not by the commission? By the commission and the council?
Question.
Because didn't we, don't we, earlier we say it has to go to the council?
No, this is the council.
Yeah, we'll say, approved by city council following the recommendation.
Yeah, okay, so C, oh, that's the preliminary plan. So we only have to refer to the preliminary plan. We can do what we want with the final plan. 125508 C. Refer the preliminary plans. Then it comes back. Once it's all done, it comes back and do the development agreement. So essentially, the planning commission is looking at the final plan and the development. Right?
So as council changes it, it's not effective.
It goes back again to the loop if it's modified. That makes sense. Yeah.
Can I ask one question? When you said it goes to council and if they make modifications, it comes
It
back
comes
to you.
back here.
Is it any modifications, or I had heard you reference something like like a certain amount or
Modifications to the approved preliminary development plan that increase the density of development. Modify the location, so I guess if you decrease it, no. But if it modifies the location of proposed buildings or conflicts with any conditions of the PUD overlay district or the approved development plan. Thank you. An increased density. Decrease like that. Okay, so with that, with all those notes, I'm gonna actually ask for two different pieces. Back, what I'm gonna ask for is first, Maggie to call the roll to recommend as amended ordinance creating chapter 1255 land unit development district be referred to council for further review. And I'll also ask that the proposed new section 1242.025 C2 and 3. So we'll have two different votes. Okay. So the first is, can I get a recommendation that the ordinance creating chapter 1255 land use development district of the codified ordinances as amended through the prior conversation be referred back to city council for further review and comment? Motion
This is a petition. which that-
in a second. Thank you. Or Busher. Yeah, you can call. Aye.
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 I could also ask for a motion that council through its processes. Consider proposed new section 1242.025 C2 and 3, or C2 final development plan, which will replace the current C2 and 3. This is the one that includes both the development plan and the environmental assessment.
Make a motion to accept.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Aye.
Dave Spru,
Aye.
Mike Sweeney,
Aye.
Mark Moore,
Now, do we need to do anything about this comment table? Well, let me sum that up. Again, we should under 2, 3, 5, over 5.
So is that's a recommended improvement to the existing. Correct, it's not in the PD. It's the ordinances, right?
Well, I'm thinking in the PUD only, but our mixed use is actually already identified.
Correct.
Okay. We identify already open space, we identify densities. Preliminary final plan process. Yeah, I find that. We don't have that.
We have an informational update. We have representatives of MSD properties here this evening. Okay, we'll table that.
We're gonna table that.
We don't have it right here.
This is Jason.
We have one more thing.
Are you with MSD?
No, ma'am, I'm not. I just wanted to ask one question, if you don't mind. It does not pertain to your agenda this evening. It does not pertain to anything you're bringing up. I was able to find, as you had said, in Article 4, after looking here for 45 minutes through the city ordinances, that public requests are able to be filed by interested parties and be placed on city council meeting agenda. I would assume that that also applies to individual committees, although it does not say so in 2.04.29 public requests under Article 4. There is no timetable in which it says that these have to be filed. So I would just wanted to ask, number one, does anyone on the planning and zoning or any members of city council who are here this evening know if there is anything different for timetables for submitting requests IDA agendas by the public? Because if we want to put something on for tomorrow's meeting, I just want to know if we are able to do such, because there is no stipulation for time limit. Is anyone in this room aware of that?
Refer that to any member of our council.
I'm just reading as it's written. There's no time
Yeah,
limit.
you have the right to do that for a council meeting, but not for a committee meeting. So tomorrow night is a committee of the whole meeting, not an actual council meeting. So you guys have ample opportunity to speak at every council meeting.
So, but we were just told by the head of this group that we are able to file something. You did
No,
say,
sir,
correct?
actually, what I said was I did not know,
Okay,
and you would have to take a look, but I knew that we could talk about.
so Mr. Johnson, so at any committee of the whole meeting of any format, either by the city council or by any independent board underneath that, the public is not allowed to speak, is that correct?
Every committee and commission sets their own rules and policies. They're governed by those. So a committee of the whole meeting is one that I call as council president, and I set the rules.
Tomorrow, sorry, we'll talk tomorrow, or?
I will probably allow you to speak after we have done some of our work. But I will not tolerate interruptions while we're working.
And the purpose of a working meeting is important. I fully understand that, and if our intention is not to slow down the process of any of these bodies. But we as citizens also just respectfully will just say that we are an intelligent group that also have information that may be useful to such committees and or city council. And our intention is to work with this group, not against this group, to hopefully help better the formation of policy for the city going forward by creation of new ordinances. I actually would fully support what Mrs. Stason presented this evening. I think that the environmental assessment piece is a wonderful piece to add into this PUD. So I think there are wonderful things that can be done on behalf of everyone. I don't think anyone in this room is upset with the process of how things work, but I think it was also an understanding, as was stated by Mr. Lyons at the last city council meeting, that we would have an opportunity to make comments at this particular meeting. He may have overstepped his bounds in what he said. As you said, it's determined by each individual group. But again, just going to transparency, it's frustrating when we're told something at one meeting. We have a group of 50 people, of interested members of your community that come here that have information that we think could be useful to this group and the development of a good piece of legislation going forward. As you said, you don't want to write something that's going to be good for today. You want something good for the next 60 years. And as Mr. Busher said, we don't want a piece of information that's based on 60-year-old information either. So our goal and our hope is that we can work with you, not against you, to be supportive. We just ask for the opportunity to speak when it is felt to be appropriate under these circumstances. Thank you.
So new business, which is review.
Should we remove Marty from the?
Yes. It's not my own, it's not for him. Because he hasn't brought anything to us.
Like, go ahead.
On our old business, I'd like to remove Mario Cruz's permit for his building. We removed, so he has not showed up or provided the information for the store.
And I believe that would mean that Mr. Kasich would need to reapply if he so chose. Can I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, give me the call.
Suzanne Kasich,
Aye.
Dave Shaboo,
Aye.
Mike Sweeney,
Aye.
Brent Moore,
Aye.
Al Bush.
Any other old business? Not, let's move on to new business. Reviewing the ordinance related to proposed moratorium. You're gonna speed this up for our conversation.
Yes, this originally came from the ordinance committee. And the basic concept is we're not looking for any more dollar or small box stores because they provide a negative impact on the community. And I have a couple suggestions. I was hoping that rest with two. I would, instead of just the moratorium, or we could just add some legislation into the current ordinances, such as maybe a definition of what we're talking about. What is a small box? But I think we should first start with a definition of what we're looking for. Small box, we have a couple definitions here.
You, any other additional comments or questions? I would say that I understand the reason for putting in a moratorium. Talk about how long that would be. I think that that's obviously in direct response to an application. I think probably the concern is if we go straight to ordinance. We know that procedure takes a while, and that in between now and the enactment of that ordinance, we could, as a zoning commission, we got to work under today's rules. And we may be having to approve a permit application while at the same time the community in the city are questioning whether we should. So to me, the moratorium provides that stopgap between now and the implementation of ordinances which could govern a small box discount store type of a application, type of a retail.
For clarity for everybody. And the process is all we've had is just a zoning permit application.
Right.
He hasn't paid a fee. So where are we at?
He came in and did a preliminary, we had a preliminary conversation,
Now, are we
and that was
able?
it. He was, a representative from the developer was to be back today, and did not attend. Or is not here now, so therefore we
Date
Can
they
we-
did, I'm sorry.
Are we able, I mean, we haven't approved anything.
no, we have not.
So we could still disapprove this.
Well, if you look at 12.025B. Okay. Preliminary plans.
Remember, they came forward for informational purposes, they did not.
Yes, and we had indicated based on what they were showing us, we would, look at entertaining the thought of the developing a church craft. But this is public knowledge for any developer under 1242.025B. Such preliminary plan approval does not assure approval of the final development plan. Based on an approved preliminary plan, the applicant may then proceed with their final plan. Basically, we're just before. So the developer in this case, the dollar store, Dollar General, should be aware that that's a risk. They could get denied. According to our current,
But I would also venture a comment to say, just approve the motion to change that
C, not D.
development plans. But what they would have to do to do a final development plan.
Yes.
So we have a
Well-
number of things in motion right now.
Right, now, two points to that. One, somewhere in how far ordinances, I remember reading one that suggested that if there is an ordinance, an applicable ordinance being considered for change, everything stops. Right? If council or planning and zoning is considering modifying it or changing, we should not be approving or denying under that ordinance. So, consideration.
Dollar store's not under the,
No, but this is
Well,
part
that's-
of the PUD.
Right.
The change to the development plan and the environmental impact assessment is not there.
But here's the other point, and that is, I've looked at the application. Well, here it is, it's a date and a signature and a dollar amount, that's it.
Right.
With an elevation.
Right.
Is that a completed application?
That's an application. That's not a preliminary plan. That just puts the city on notice.
Okay.
But then they have to come with a plan.
And this is just for the store,
yes.
just nothing behind, right?
Yeah, this isn't the requested lot.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna wanna know what they're gonna want to do.
Okay.
Well,
Now-
we need the full site.
We need the full site plan.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to resolve, here we are, we've got a full page of negative impacts of the community. And yet, on May 2nd, right, which was, that, did we meet on the second?
A month ago. Well, that was just the day.
Okay.
After.
Right. I'm just trying to resolve, here we are looking at the full page of the negative impacts
Right,
of what we're looking at, or what's been applied.
right. I think that's the reason there was a cluster. Which would impact all.
Well, that's my question, would this language, stop it, give us time to. pause?
Yeah, if you read it, it said, we stop all consideration. That's what we were toward now.
Well, I didn't
I
know
have
if they were
questions about the way-
grandfathers, right?
I have, no, it's not what it says, but I have questions about the language here. This falls, from my perspective, kind of outside of what I am comfortable putting forward, because personally, even after my research, I can't validate
I agree.
some of this information. I'm not, if we keep to the actual ordinance part, that I'm fine with, going with some sort of a moratorium. I do agree, I think we need to make sure we have a decent definition, like one that I can offer up. It's very similar to, with a little bit of tweaking to it. I think that, I think that an ordinance, therefore, and the moratorium is just taken pretty much from Cleveland. Expired a couple years ago. I think that the moratorium, though, could, it could just allow us to have the conversations, right? When the moratorium, if nothing happens, then the moratorium expires. But it buys you a window of time to have a more in-depth conversation, and hopefully, I think, as you propose, looking at an ordinance either of the type of Cleveland or a number of Cleveland and Brunswick are locals that have ordinances similar, and maybe the others. Not similar, so I think Cleveland and Brunswick have similar.
I like these, this one.
That's the actual ordinance. But I would say, and I am fine, you could take a look at the ordinance from Cleveland, we could put those forward so that frankly, the council could review both. I didn't know if we were in a position tonight. We could move forward with a moratorium, then next month we could look at fuller. I just didn't know if folks had a chance to.
Understand, I just want to know where we are with this application.
We're nowhere with the application. We are
So
not
we,
here
as far
tonight.
as we're concerned.
Well, it's tabled, and traditionally we table for 1 month, and if they don't come back, then we start again. But we tabled it, they came and talked to us once, they have to come and talk to us again the next one.
We have time.
We
That's the.
Well, here's what I would like to propose. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on the table, and then we'll at least be talking about something. I would like to propose that we go ahead and establish a moratorium. I want to take the language, I think this was 22-0-09. I would strike everything up to now therefore be ordained. So the preamble, section 1, council hereby declares a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance. So I have my proposal will take this down to 6 months on the acceptance and processing of applications, occupancy building permits approvals for small box discount stores, and the issuance of such approvals. I'd like to add a definition of small. So that would be section 2A would be what I just read. Section section 1E would be small box discount retail stores. Retail store between 3,000 and 15,000 square feet that dedicates less than 15% of shelf space, fresh or fresh frozen foods and produce, and sells at retail and assortment of physical goods, products or merchandise directly to the consumer, including food or beverage or off-premise consumption, personal grooming and health products, household goods, and other consumer products. Small box variety stores do not include small box stores that, 1, contain a prescription pharmacy, 2, sell gasoline or diesel fuel, 3, primarily sell specialty food items such as meat, seafood, cheese. You could add daily prepared foods. We could put that in the specialty food items. Daily prepared. Section 2, council finds and determines that all formal actions of this council related to the adoption of this ordinance, in particular open meetings of this council, that deliberation of this council and its committees resulting in such formal action took place in the open to the public in compliance with statutory requirements, including 121 Code, Section 3. This ordinance is hereby declared an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the health, safety, and welfare. So that is my recommendation. I'll make it as a motion from the chair.
Okay, so
that
what
we
you're
can have
saying
further
from
discussion.
all above your delete.
Yes, I don't think we need the preamble. I think there are a lot of reasons. I think there's
I agree.
certainly,
Position of the city, I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, I think there's some stuff missing that I would put in about economic viability and those kinds of things. I also think there are, just by way of discussion, one of the pieces for me that I think is most pertinent is the others are frankly the spacing and the saturation. What I am most worried about is market saturation. Within 4 miles right now, we have 8 stores that would fit this. I get that they serve a niche in areas that have food deserts and not a food desert. Marks and Giant Eagle are right here, let alone the other Giant Eagle. So for me, I think there's just more and different. I think that distracts us from what is in fact the ordinance is to establish a moratorium to allow us to take a better look at alternative legislation.
Right there for
Hand it to me.
So.
And I could happily reread it. Well, I have made a motion from the chair. I would love a second and then we can continue some discussion. I, again, happily have to reread it.
So you're talking about 6.1, 6.2, and over 6.
Yeah, and so.
And then adding the definition.
So again, what I would do is we would start it with, our motion is that we would ask the council to consider a moratorium. I'm just gonna go ahead. Section 1A is that it would be a 6-month moratorium. Section 1B would be a definition of small box discount stores. Again, retail store between 5,000 and 15,000. I think the major difference between what was written that came to us from council is that we would include is the further definition that takes out prescription pharmacies, Petco, specialties food items, you know. I'm sorry, so. Specialty food items, including daily. Prep. And then, again, then I think the rest is. So. further conversation.
Well, I think, I need to think myself about, I think Giant Eagle has been a plus for the city, a real loyal constituent, partner. I personally have to think about what this might further. Are we gonna support that or not? My fear is that if we go against, we're not a food desert, but some of our oil.
People who shop at Giant Eagle don't shop at Mark's. Or they might, and people shop where they want to.
I need to think
We have
about
Giant
it.
Eagle, we have Marks, and we have Menor.
Yeah, right, so you got all kinds of stuff.
For now, what we have in front of us, I think that's a great conversation, which is part of the reason why I didn't think we were ready tonight to fully put the, you know, more of a small business discount ordinance forward. I think we need the time.
Yeah, I think that's.
Consider it, yeah.
Well, I like
Consider it
negative
so that
aspects.
we can go forward. So right in front of us now, what we have a motion to do is just consider the moratorium. I think what I'm hearing is that others are feeling the same way I did, which is we'd like to pick up at the next meeting and maybe come up with ideas about what could be in an actual ordinance that would buys us some things. Okay. Any questions?
I think great. I'm not.
Okay.
I just don't like throwing business, we don't want.
Yeah, I understand.
That's my only problem, and then there's all their buddies. It's just.
No, I agree.
That is a concern.
I think it is a concern.
Right.
It's always a risk to, you know, in a city that could use the economic development, you know, certainly could use those kinds of things. I think that is always a concern.
Right.
Sitting with somebody on the block, but I also think this situation, there just happens to be. Personally, I think there happens to
Personally,
be
I don't like dollar stores, I can shop at. I just don't like to really tax dollars.
That's okay.
We're given 6 months to free.
Whatever the CRA, would they be able to apply for I think we need to have CRA. We are what, 15 years.
So there's
Benefit.
some tentacles and some.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yes.
So we do have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion on the motion for the? If not, may I?
Suzanne Houston, Dave Schmidt,
Aye.
Clint Sweeney,
Aye.
Frank Moore, Carl Bush.
Thank you very much.
Also on new business, I'm for, maybe I'm gonna put this to you. Seen a petition dated this evening from the audience. Signed by them as well. In opposition of the PUD legislation as it stands. Basically it. Well, okay.
She'll read it in the record.
The community citizens of Mentor on the Lake, Ohio, attended a planning and zoning meeting June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. were advised in various other meetings that we would be able to voice our opinions and speak at this meeting. We came prepared with 50+ people in attendance. At this meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission were discussing the proposed PUD, for which we, the citizens in attendance, brought statistics and important information. Certainly not. Susan Cason denied the opportunity to state our concerns. As the PUD stands now, we all object to this. And everybody has signed their names along with put down their address. At collection time of this petition, 20 or more people have allowed before we. Okay, well, thank you. That will be part of the record.
Then comment on that particular. What it says is true. On the other hand, I think I speak to the group, that with the modifications that have ensued since, we are somewhat more comfortable with the PUD than we were when we started. In fact, there's only one recommendation remaining. We would probably support the PUD. Personally, I don't feel we even need one. It was generated specifically in response to a developer that wants to put in high density housing. But we're willing to compromise, and you've helped us a lot with that compromise. Make one more small change. I think that the opposition will go away. That change is remove the word townhouse slash. You
I
understand
think
what,
we take
why
that
I'm
under
saying that?
advisement for council, but we'll catch it in our notes.
Because you are now going to.
No, I don't understand why, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, we could do that after the meeting.
Well, let's do that.
We can do that after the meeting.
But thank you for your comments. I think we really have come a long way.
Yes, you have.
And I want to, kind of point out Susan's done a lot of legwork, obviously.
Well, she has some excellent thoughts, and I think everybody's going away. It was better when they did when we arrived.
I am too. Thank you.
Okay, so our next meeting is currently scheduled for the 13th. I know. I didn't get that date. Oh, excuse me, July 11th is the because of the July 4th holiday, we would meet on the second Monday of the month. Okay, assuming we have business. Yes.
Well.
And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn. Second. One more time. Call the roll.
Susan Gleason.
Aye.
Dave Stroop.
Hi.
Mike Sweeney.
Hi.
Brett Moore. Al Bush.
There you go. Well.
Yeah. Here, I'll grab all this. Here, hold on one second.
Oh, okay, thank you.